Welcome to the final webinar of our very first ever virtual open house. Thank you so much for participating. What an adventure this has been, and we're just so grateful for the students and the faculty and staff that have all helped to participate today and help us plan and make it work. So we've made it to this point in the process, and I hope you have lots of questions, and I hope we answer all of them. We're just so excited. I just want you all to know that, open house is just the beginning of a wonderful, exciting process for you, for your sons and daughters. This is just an opportunity for you to learn more and more about Scranton Prep, hopefully get your questions answered, and feel really good about this place because it's a very special family. And I speak very personally when I say that. I am well, let me just say, my name is Michelle Fellens. I'm the director of admissions. I graduated from prep in 2002. I had a lot of family go to prep, and my mom actually worked here for a really long time. So when I say prep family, I take it very seriously. But I've only been back here now working for about 3 years. Before that, I worked at the University of Scranton for some time. So Jesuit education means a lot to me. But being here really felt like coming home, and the absolute best part of this job is getting to know all of you and your sons and daughters. Our office staff is myself and my colleague, Bernie Adcroft. She's a wonderful partner with me through the whole process, and you'll all get to know her as we move through the different stages of the admissions process. So today, if I get my screen share to agree with me, today I just want to run through kind of a high-level overview of the admissions process, a bit about our scholarship entrance exam, campus tours that we will have available in a few weeks, financial aid, and then of course, ways to contact us. So much has changed this year, so it's nice to really get a rundown on the full year of what's the same and what's different. So not required, but this is the fun stuff. Today, open house, whether you're here virtually or in a normal year here in person, this should be a fun and inviting time for you and your sons and daughters to get to know Scranton Prep and our wonderful community. A tour is also that. So I will get into that a little bit later. So that's the fun stuff that we participate in the admissions process. But what comes next? Some of you have already applied. Just to clarify, when you complete your application for Scranton Prep, you're also registering for the entrance exam. So that's the next required part of the process. Complete your application to register for the scholarship entrance exam, and we will administer that exam on December 5th. After the exam, we contact everyone with next steps, and those next steps include completing their essay questions. We've actually just pushed the deadline to January 25th to give everyone a little bit more time this year, because don't we all need a little bit more time this year? Submit teacher recommendation forms, all of this due the 25th of January, and if requested, submit transcripts. After that all comes through, then we have, we set up individual interviews with each student. And I conduct some of them. I also have some colleagues that do them as well. They're really a fun part of the process. And then really sometime around March or April, you end up enrolling in the class. I have encouraged people to ask questions throughout. So let me just take a peek here because I see a couple of questions. Okay, so I'm going to answer the question about the test first. The test right now is not virtual. The question is the Scranton Prep scholarship entrance exam virtual or in person? Currently, we are planning to have that test in person. In a couple of slides, I will go into detail about the exam. We actually did select an exam this year that would enable us to give a virtual exam so that we would not have to cancel it should things not allow us to give it in person. Do we use a calculator for the test? No, you may not. We do not allow that. It's a test for your abilities in arithmetic. And another test, how does Scranton Prep teach children with learning disabilities and IEPs? Well, that's something we would really talk about on an individual basis. So at the end of the presentation, I will give you some different ways that we can all communicate and set up individual meetings to talk about that. But that's something we would talk about with our guidance department, learn a little bit about maybe what your son and daughter need assistance with when it comes to their academic needs. Okay, I'm going to continue forward on the presentation here. I did not say anything about the financial aid process. That is in a couple of slides because it's not necessarily required. So the scholarship entrance exam, let's start there, since we already got some great questions about it. As I mentioned, it will be Saturday, December 5th, here at Scranton Prep. And we're going to give two different tests, not two different tests, but two sessions that day, just to manage the large group of test takers that we typically have. And given everything this year, it would just speed up the process and make it a little less stressful for the kids to sort of be able to come in a little bit more fluidly, not be waiting a really long time to get to their rooms. So we'll have a 9 a.m. session and a 1 p.m. session. Our plan will be to split the test takers alphabetically on our list, and we will communicate that out in a couple of weeks. What is the exam? So this year, we have decided to administer the HSPT, or High School Placement Test. This is a national exam. It's used by a lot of Jesuit high schools around the country. And we had some great resources with those schools just being in the Jesuit network. So schools like Regis High School, Fairfield Prep, St. Joe's Prep, many other Jesuit high schools use this exam. So those are just examples of this being a very great test to provide the scholarship indicators for our merit-based scholarships. So speaking of, we do have 35, with the top 35 scores on our entrance exam, those students will receive a partial merit-based scholarship. Preparing for the exam, some students do, some students do not. They just obviously are getting a great education wherever they are, and they come in and just do their best. Others who would like to prepare, I have one book as an example here, but there's many resources. We also will put together 3 free tutoring programs. They're typically in person, but this year we'll do webinars for the students. So there'll be more information about that to come. But if you do want to register for those, there is an important dates link on our webpage under admissions. Those are already up there. You can register for those webinars and we'll be in touch with more details. They start in about 2.5 weeks. So that's the entrance exam. If you want to register, you have not yet. As I said, you just have to fill out the application. There's the link there for the prep test, but you can't not find a link to apply to prep on our admissions pages. But if you are having trouble with any of the links, please do let me know. So campus tours. Normally you get your tour at open house, but since we're virtual, although Abigail did a great job with that virtual tour earlier, we would love for you to come into our building and meet us and hear from our different administrators and staff and have one of our wonderful students take you around. So we are offering specific tour dates. Just please note what I say here on the slide. Registration is not opened for those yet. We do have to have some specific registration pages available just because we do need to limit capacity. So just check back with us on Wednesday on our webpage, and we will have a link to register for one of the tour dates and times. We feel that we can accommodate every student who would like to come in for a tour. We are asking students to only bring maybe 2 family members with them. Again, just so we can manage the capacity and tour groups. Just want to check the Q&A before I move on here. Okay, we're good. Now feel free to send any questions through while I'm speaking. I'll check throughout. Okay, so I mentioned that I was going to talk about financial aid. It kind of needs its own slide, as this is an important factor for a lot of our families. Let me just mention this right off the bat. We will have a specific evening devoted to financial aid. It will be a webinar like this, just to make it easier on our families. Sometime in mid to late November, we'll get together and talk in depth about the financial aid process and how to apply. But I don't want you to walk away from this conversation without knowing enough about financial aid. So how do you apply? Hopefully you all received the brochure that I have here on the screen. It would have come in the mail to you if you had registered maybe a week or so ago for the open house. If you just want to flip through that, you'll see on the back, I've put on the back cover on the screen here for you to see. It actually shows you exactly where to apply. But if you go to our website, the drop down to financial aid, tuition, financial aid, and scholarships, there's a link right there to apply for financial aid. That deadline is January 25th. And I would say that's a very hard deadline. I stress that with our families because we, as a financial aid committee, distribute 80% of the financial aid that's allotted for this class to that group that applies on time. When will we receive our financial aid package? That's a common question. After your student's interview, you will receive a letter about the admissions decision and financial aid. So those letters will go home shortly thereafter. Now, if you need more information, as I said, please keep an eye out for the email, and I'm sure we'll send a letter in the mail also to invite you to that financial aid night. I have a question in the queue. The brochure indicates the deadline is January 15th, not the 25th. Yes, thank you. So early in the presentation, I had just mentioned, we just pushed all the deadlines 10 days. And we did so to give everybody a little bit more time. We want to make sure that we have given you your results and next steps for the exam and several weeks to get everything in. So I just said, doesn't everyone need like another week or two this year? So that the new deadline will be the 25th. I do apologize for that. That was a recent change. But if you get it in by the January 15th, that's great too. The exam is timed. And how many questions are there in the exam? I actually don't have that in front of me. We will do a specific call about that and give you some details. There's 5 sections to the exam, so some of them have different amounts of questions. Okay. Okay, so ways to contact us. Again, doing different things this year. The most important thing is, but if you're on this webinar, we probably have all your contact information. But if for some reason you didn't get an email from us or you didn't get a mailing from us, please check in and make sure that we have all of the correct information so we can get in contact with you. You can set up a meeting over the phone if you would like, and we're going to start virtual office hours. Those are not up yet, but it will be a Zoom type thing where maybe for 2 hours, 1 day a week, I'm available to meet with whomever just to talk through any questions that you might have. This is a very individual this process is very specific to each individual. So as helpful and important as it is for you to get this information today, we all understand that sometimes you need to talk through something about your process more specifically. So please utilize those office hours. Looks like a few questions popped up. When are the interviews? The interviews they start in late January and they go usually until March. Sometimes it depends on the weather. But yes, they'll be in January and February as the bulk of them. And then some of them trickle into March. They're about 30 minutes and it's usually myself or a colleague interviewing your student. Okay, now everyone, please just remember to use the Q&A if you have questions. And there's a question, more detailed questions on the exam. We will send out a more detailed message on that, with like what type of questions and things like that. So that's why we're going to do the review session. So the students do feel familiar going into the exam. It's going to have 3 different verbal sections and 2 different math sections. The exam is typically about 2.5 hours long. I think each section is around 20 minutes. Some are a little longer, and we'll build breaks into that too. Again, we'll have more detailed information to come out in the exam. And I would highly recommend it if your sons or daughters are a little bit nervous to just sign up for our tutoring. It's actually our National Honor Society students that do the tutoring. So it's just another great way to connect with the prep community as well. Another way to contact us is always by phone or email. I know many of you did so over the last few days, just making sure you had everything you needed for the open house. So please do continue to contact us that way. Okay, I'm just going to start opening it up to Q&A now. That's the extent of my presentation. I have this habit of talking fast. So if you missed anything, just ask me to clarify. When are those tutoring sessions? Those tutoring sessions, I have them, they're going to begin November 3rd, and they will be every Tuesday. So November 3rd, 10th, and 17th. Those are also on our important dates. Those are what you can register for now. So if you go under the important dates on our website, you'll see them there, and you can register as soon as today if you'd like. Unlimited numbers with registering for a webinar, so hop on it. And really, you can register for, the first one will be kind of a general tutoring session on all of the material. And then maybe your son or daughter will walk away and say like, well, I don't really think I need to review the math. I did pretty well in that area. So I'm going to skip that class. It's no big deal. You can do that. How much time do we get for the test? It should be about 2.5 hours total test time for the exam. Good question. Any other questions? I hope everyone really enjoyed open house today. There were a lot of great questions for our students in the last session. I really enjoyed hearing them. They were all in your shoes just a few years ago. So I think they kind of enjoyed going back to their 8th grade selves and trying to give you as much comfort and really excitement about prep. How many people, here's the next question. How many people would be in our class? Typically our class size is about 165, 170. We are out of time. Thank you all so much for joining Virtual Open House. Thank you for looking at Scranton Prep. This place means so much to me in every part of my life, and I hope it comes to mean a lot to you as well and your families. So I look forward to meeting you. Hopefully you'll hop on our website and sign up for some of those events. Remember, Wednesday is when you can hop on and sign up for a tour. I'm going to stop my screen share, and thank you so much for the comment, Laura. I appreciate it. I'm thrilled that you enjoyed Virtual Open House. We enjoyed it too. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and we look forward to meeting all of you.